Hello, record nerds of the internet. I am back doing jazz reviews for the first time in a while. And since my last review, Joe Harley, the producer of Blue Note Records, is a subscriber to my channel. So that makes me feel weird inside. This is going to be weird. Let's do it.
a.m.
All right, no pressure. So we are going to start off with Eric Dolphy's Out to Lunch. And I'm going to get a little Rev rock and rollin' for a minute. You might know Rev. He's the founder, pastor, spiritual advisor of the Church of Elvis and even more Latter-day Saints. You know that guy? He's got a good channel. You know, he does this, sometimes it's a personal anecdote, but he'll tell some anecdote and then weave it into whatever music he's talking about. I think it's personal. It's so hard to tell. Like, he has like this kayfabe thing going, and I don't know where the kayfabe begins and ends and where his real personality begins. So it's hard to tell. Go check out his channel. I'll link it below. If you're not already subscribed, he's great. Sometimes I don't know what he's talking about, but I'm sure that happens a lot here too. Anyway, back to this. So when I was a kid, for Easter, I would get malted milk eggs in my Easter basket from the Easter Bunny. And I hated those things. Like I thought they were so gross. They made me just grossed out. And so I had decided that I was going to eat a bunch of them and acquire a taste for them because my brother liked them and my sister liked them, so they must be okay. It must be a problem with me. So I ate a bunch of them, and then I got sick, and then I threw up. And then it became a thing where just the thought of eating those, even Whoppers, anything like that malted milk, whatever, that horrible candy, makes me want to throw up. What does that have to do with Eric Dolphy's Out to Lunch? Well, normally when I'm going through these records, I'll listen to them 3 times. I'll give it the first listen, a second listen, and then by the third listen, I've kind of absorbed everything I'm going to absorb from the music. This I've listened to, I don't know, maybe almost a dozen times. And guess what? I do not like it. And I don't like it so much that it kind of turned me off from listening to jazz for a while. And people love this record, and I don't get it. People will claim it's the best Blue Note record. Have they not heard other Blue Note records? Because this thing is just not the best Blue Note record. I don't know how anyone would say that. Some people say it's their favorite jazz record. This thing is... It's like you listen to it, and there'll be parts when it's coherent, and then it will fall apart, and it'll be like a nightmare. It's like the sounds of like a nightmare or like a machine with cogs and just exploding. My wife hates it. My kids hate it. Even the dog hates this record, and I don't like it either. I would rather listen to Machine Gun by Peter Brötzmann or The Shape of Jazz to Come than this. I enjoy this less than those records. So, on my rating of 1 to 5, I give it a 1. The 1 being it's got a really cool cover. The music is horrifying. Although there's parts, and there's small and fleeting parts of this where I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And then it will devolve and fall apart, and then I hate it. And then for repeated enjoyment and repeated playback, I give this a 0. I'm going to try to listen to this again over the years, but man, I do not want to listen to it anytime soon. Speaking of The Shape of Jazz to Come, Ornette Coleman. A lot of people don't like this record, whereas lots of people love this. I don't understand that. I don't know if it's because, this sort of ushered in the free jazz era, or is seen to be sort of the beginnings of that. But this is way more coherent than this. Like, this sounds like top 40 radio compared to this. I mean, this is pretty good in terms of, I don't know, in terms of, like, from what I like. Is it the best jazz record album ever? No. But it's good. I would give it a 3.5 out of 5. Maybe a 3.75. And then I would give it a 3 for re-listening. I'd give it a 5 for having the cojones to say The Shape of Jazz to Come. That's pretty awesome. Ornette Coleman was calling his shot. That's pretty awesome. So I should say something about this pressing. So this is a Rhino reissue. It has a tipped-on jacket. The cardboard isn't the thickest in terms of the sleeve. It sounds pretty good. My only complaint is it has, or originally had come in one of those pink inner sleeves that leaches whatever the plastic is made out of all over the record. So I need to clean this in my ultrasonic cleaner because it kind of sounds not great. It sounds like it needs a cleaning. But it's a nice pressing. I think it's out of print now. But if you get this pressing, if you get the pink sleeve, clean it and just throw that sleeve in the garbage. Lee Morgan, Sidewinder. This is a well-loved album, and I think that's deserved. I feel like Lee Morgan, and again, I don't know much about jazz. I know more today than I did 3 months ago. I feel like Lee Morgan is forever guilty of not being Miles Davis. But I think that Lee Morgan, he speaks to me more than Miles Davis. I connect with Lee Morgan's music more than Miles Davis's music. That's probably jazz blasphemy, but, listen, you're watching a review done by a guy who listens to punk music, so that might be the least blasphemous saying I'll say in this video. It's probably less blasphemous than saying that this sucks. This is horrible. If this is your favorite Blue Note record and you've heard this, then I don't know what to say about that. So this is sort of a fun record. A lot of people like it. Like I said, I would give this a 4 out of 5 star with 4.5 for replay value. This is a good record. I recommend it. Herbie Hancock, Headhunters. Music on vinyl, which I am ambivalent towards. This actually has a pressing flaw in it where it skips on Watermelon Man at a certain point and creates sort of like a locked groove. Now, I've had that issue with my Denon DL301 MK2, which got me to get rid of that cartridge. I bought a Denon DL103, and that doesn't have that issue. And then on my Audio-Technica AT33SA cartridge, originally it wasn't skipping, and then I listened to this again yesterday, and now it has the skip again. So I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to try to find an OG of this. They come up, and they're not usually terribly expensive, like around between like 20 and 40 bucks. So I'll probably replace it once I see it again. Because I like this record. This is really heavy on the funk. A lot of synthesizers. Someone might say that this isn't even a jazz record. It might just be full-on funk. But it's fun. It's fun to listen to. The remake of Watermelon Man, the first time I heard it, I started laughing because it was so crazy sounding and awesome that I just had to laugh out loud. I had never heard anything like it. That song is awesome. I love that song. This is a good record. Again, I don't know about buying this version, but it's a good record. Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers. Freddie Hubbard, Wayne Shorter. Quality people on this. This is kind of an interesting sounding record. When I put this on, I'm kind of struck by the fact that it sounds very cinematic. Like it sounds like a soundtrack to something. Oh wait, did I give that I would give this 4.5, maybe even a 4.75 out of 5, and then replay, I would give it a 5 because I listen to this all the time. Back to this. It sounds very much like a soundtrack to a movie that it's not. There's also a cover. I don't know if is it called a cover if a jazz group is doing an old song. They do Moon River, and it's kind of wild sounding. And to tie back to Rev Rock and Rollin', sort of in two different ways. Kind of cool. So my wife and my first date was going to see Marvin Hamlisch with the Buffalo Philharmonic. And they did a rendition, we'll call it, because I don't know that covers the accurate phraseology of that concept of them doing an old song. Let me know in the comments below what you would refer to a jazz group or a Philharmonic with Marvin Hamlisch. And they did Moon River. And Moon River's on this. And Rev Rock and Rollin' has almost a fetish for Ice Castles, the soundtrack to a movie I've never seen before. But I believe that the soundtrack was done by none other than Marvin Hamlisch. R.I.P. Marvin Hamlisch. Moon River's on this, Buhaina's Delight. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I don't know how to pronounce words. And Marvin Hamlisch. Wonderful. Sonny Rollins, Saxophone, Colossus. This is a great pressing of this. Record's cut by Kevin Gray. Pressed at QRP, I believe. This record is great. This is one of my favorite jazz records. It starts off in a very sort of fun, upbeat way. It's definitely not like chill out and listen to some jazz. It's more upbeat than that. Sonny Rollins. I haven't heard. I tried to listen. I haven't bought it yet, but I've tried to listen to, because a lot of people like Way Out West. I've listened to that a little bit on YouTube, and I don't think it's as good as this. Eventually, I'll buy that on vinyl and then actually sit down and listen to it at least 3 times. This is a great record. I would give this 4.75 out of 5 stars. And for replay value, I give it a 5 because I listen to this all the time. This might be the jazz record that I listen to the most. It's a good one. It's one of my top 5. All right, guys. Hopefully I didn't anger too many people. But I don't know. Do you like this record? If you can explain to me why this is a good record, I'd love to hear it. Comments down below. Like, subscribe, do whatever.